Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, I am joined by Mike Czyz, Josh Fink, and Andrew Munger, some of the driving forces behind the Forged in Faith experience, Christians Men Retreat experience, workshop. These guys find deep meaning in hard work. They are passionate about finding They are passionate about finding an experience through working with their hands, getting down, getting dirty, finding a sense of purpose, and finding the values that drive men to be their best selves. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Forged in Faith experience. So first, I want to thank you guys for being here. And can you guys tell me a little bit more about this experience and why you guys think it is important?
Thanks, Corbin. So the Forged in Faith experience is something that just kind of spun up from really a Friday morning coffee group. A gentleman by the name of Mark Bohati was really instrumental in kind of pulling men together to, he was just a manly man, and he was able to pull men together to try to, find their faith. He was at daily mass. He really was just a really good man to be around. And so we would have coffee with Mark, and other guys just started coming in, and so we're up to a pretty big group of guys that show up on Friday mornings for coffee. We're blessed to be flexible that we can do that, but I think we'd all agree that it's kind of the highlight of our week. We really make time for that. So it spun up from that, and just the idea that there's a lot of men, I think, that don't have that opportunity to bond with other good Christian men. And there's such a value to that I think that we don't have when we're not around other men. There's just this validation. You go to our coffee group, we're hugging, people are crying. It's just we're praying. It's an amazing gift. And I remember one of the guys that came for the first time was like, "This is like gold. Like what's going on here is like gold." And so it's such a blessing, and we really treasure it. Mark unfortunately passed away this year. He passed away really right before we did our first Forged in Faith experience. So it was kind of unfortunate that he didn't get to see it come to fruition on the earth, but I'm sure he was there with us. And so, but it's just a way to get together, and men get together, and we do some manly things that men don't get to do very often. And so, if it's and we're the Holy Spirit leads it, so we're just kind of helping him do that.
Great. So I want to get to know a little bit more about how did you guys get together? Where did this idea come from? Was it through your church? Was it through other organizations? How did you guys come together and get this idea really moving?
Well, I think, these two kind of just met randomly at like an art craft show, and then it turns out they're sort of neighbors. I've known Mike for a lot of years, where our kids went to daycare together. And, a couple of years ago, I drove out to his house, and I was just like, because I'm a convert, and I just went to his house. I'm like, I just feel like I need somebody to ask questions to. I've never really connected with a father. And he's like, well, hey, we do coffees on Fridays. Come on over. It was just 3 or 4 of us. And then everybody just kind of found maybe 1 or 2 guys that just needed a little something extra of guys just getting together to talk on those Fridays. And so that group has grown. There's, the text thread can get a little out of control when you got 18 guys texting in memes and doing those sort of things. So it's a little hard to follow sometimes. So when we were talking, it originally probably kind of started as more doing like a father-son retreat. Like, what can we do to teach our kids, or kids that don't have dads in the home? And then it kind of like, well, we should probably try to get ourselves figured out first. Let's try to help the men here. Let's see if we can just get like a men's retreat going, where it's a weekend where we get away and you can just, you're out in the forest doing manly things. We're shooting guns. We're forging stuff in the fire. We're cooking barbecue. Barbecue feeds the soul. It's different than cooking or getting a pizza. It's just, when you put that work and time into it, smoking something for 12 hours, it's just different. So that's kind of where we decided, hey, let's just do a men's weekend where you can get away. You can listen to the speakers. You can not listen to the speakers. You can just go walk around the Oaks and just hang out and be by yourself and listen to your own thoughts for a little bit. So, we kind of talked about it for a while. Well, we've been talking about it for quite a while. But Matt Kleinschmidt finally has kind of been spearheading. He's the one that's very organized. Our first meeting with him, I think we got farther in planning this thing in 10 minutes than we probably had the year before. Because we're all just like, ooh, let's do this, something shiny, let's do this, And he's like, nope, let's talk about this. Let's, try to get it organized. So it's just finally getting there where, we just did it in September and everybody's like, oh, this is amazing. We just went out for a couple days. You don't got to think about home. You don't got to think about work. You just no real distractions, and you're just kind of hanging out together, which I think just a lot of guys in general don't do. Well, they're doing it, but they're slamming beers at the sports bar. Well, you're not having deep conversations there. You're not really building friendships. You can't really ask, hey, I've been thinking about this. What are your thoughts on really any topic? Because, sometimes our topics on Fridays are, it's fart jokes and sports the whole time. Or then the next time it's all like very religious questions of spiritual guidance. And then the next time it's like, oh, my dad's sick or my mom's sick, or, So it's just such a array of topics that we cover that you're not getting those talks at the sports bar on Friday night at 10:30. Yeah. So it's just a way for, I think, all of us to get together and talk about those things that you necessarily don't want to talk to your wife about or your buddy at work, so.
Right. So it sounds like this is a unique men's group, different than one that I think most guys are probably used to. And I'm curious, how has each of your backgrounds, whether if that be in working with your hands or on a farm or anything like that, how has your background really influenced how you see this group going forward?
So I'll talk a little bit, this is Andrew, I'll talk a little bit about that from my aspect. So as this Friday group grew and, we saw more fruit being produced from this group and the friendships being made, we just started having conversations about, what do we all feel like is lacking in our lives? What do we wish we could do to fellowship with men more at a deeper level? And the topic of working with our hands came up, and we all kind of share that bond and that passion for working with our hands and connecting to nature, connecting to real things in the, in times of technology here. So I've always been interested in blacksmithing and forging and making knives, and I established Defensor Forge about 10 years ago, and so the name Defensor Forge comes from part of my military background. I was Air Force Security Forces, and their motto is Defensor Fortis, which means strong defender in Latin. So I took the defender portion. So really it means Defender Forge, and it's just kind of a theme that we have, as men. We're here to be defenders. We're here to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. We're here to stand up for babies in the womb. We're here to stand up for the vulnerable. So that's kind of a theme and a core value that we hold. And from there, we started talking about, okay, we started seeing similarities between our faith and our craft. And for me, it was, I look at forging from multiple perspectives, but I just thought it was really, really neat how you could take your energy that God has given you, use some heat and use your energy to make something through the forging process that might have been a piece of scrap steel. And in the end, it becomes something beautiful and something very useful. The same way that God can change us. This whole year has been a little bit like this for me, and I know some of the other guys have too, but I feel like I've been in that fire this year, and I've been, being beat on and formed, and it's not comfortable. You really don't like going through it, but in the end, I think God is, working on us all, and in the end, we're going to come out of the process something better and somebody that He wants us to be. So there's a lot of analogies between forging and my faith, and that's kind of how my craft of forging and making knives and everything tied into the whole theme.
Yeah. Well, I think it ties in beautifully. I mean, talk about analogies. That's really wonderful. Being forged in fire. I mean, the tribulations, the stress of life, everything. I think that's something that men need in today's world. So I guess broadly speaking, what is your guys' vision for this experience, Forged in Faith? What do you guys have in mind for the future? How would you like to see this grow?
Yeah, that's something that we've continually talked about, and like we'll have ideas that come up, and we're like, oh yeah, we should try to figure out how to do that. But I think really, we're really letting the Holy Spirit try to lead this, and I think. And I had mentioned to somebody recently, I said, if we do one more, experience here on the 13th and that's it, well, then that was all that we needed to do. Maybe there was some guy in that retreat that needed this, and so now we're done. And so God's going to use somebody else to do something different. So we don't know where this is going to go exactly. My hope for it would be that, and I think our hope for it would be that this really reaches out and touches a lot of men, because I feel like there's just such a need for it. And, I do leather work, and so we teach classes and things like that, and so we'll have guys that come in with their son or something, and they work on a leather wallet or a belt or something like that. And it's pretty unanimous that they all are like, I want to do this. I want to do this more than just this 2 hours that I'm here today. I love working with my hands. I took the day off or whatever, and I'm here with my son, and we're like using our fingers and getting dirty and sweating. And so, God said work is not bad. He gives us work to do to fulfill us. And so that's really where I think that the vision for this can go a lot of different ways. But I think Andrew being military, I think there's a lot of guys that are veterans that could really benefit from something like this, maybe to work through different things, that if they need healing or if they have PTSD or something, this is an avenue for that. Another good buddy of ours that goes to coffee, John Grenemeyer, sat with us and talked to us about his vision of having a program that would help his son, who's a teenager, become a man. And so there's this lack of that in our society, at least in the West here, that potentially you don't have that. Like another culture might have some sort of a ritual. You go kill a lion or something, and then that's your like detachment from your mother. Now you're a man, and now you go to your father for things. And so there's this thing that he was recognizing, that there's no way to get that boy to become a man. Like you're off to the high school and then to college, but maybe they're floundering around with never really feeling like they are good enough for a man. So I think John really had some good thoughts on maybe how to make this potentially like a father-son thing too. Maybe we branch out into different areas with regards to a father-daughter thing. Maybe there's our wives are very instrumental in letting us do this, and I know Josh has a story with his wife and going through some suffering, and so maybe there's something for them too. Maybe there's a way to do something with women and mothers. So I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts too on the future, but
yeah, I think Josh said earlier, we originally kind of started this as focused on how do we organize and bring up our sons in a manly, godly Catholic way. And Josh made the good point. We kind of pumped the brakes a little bit, and I think some of us said, well, I think we need to get ourselves figured out first. So that's kind of where we felt like the Holy Spirit was leading us first, was, you guys get this going. It's going to lift us up as the organizers and the folks who put this on, as well as everybody who attends. So I think our approach is that we focus on the core group that we have and the men that we are blessed to have attend. And from there are a lot of opportunities. There's a veterans outreach that is close to my heart that we'd like to get into. We threw the idea around of putting on a Mother's Day luncheon or something, or breakfast out at the Oaks, and the men are there to cook the breakfast for the women. So there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of thoughts that we have about how we can involve the whole family in this experience eventually. But we're starting from a foundation of the 24 men. So.
Well, that sounds wonderful. So speaking of this retreat experience, Forged in Faith X, when is the next experience? Do you know who the speakers are going to be? Can people still sign up? Can people still join? What's the details on that?
September 13th is actually when we're doing the next one.
13th and 14th?
Yep, 13th and 14th. So we got guys kind of show up about 6 o'clock. That way it's kind of caps the end of the week. Show up out there at the Oaks, and then we shuttle everybody back and set up their tent. Last time I was cooking, so we cooked supper, and then we, like we said, we kind of just do the 24 guys that are out there. So we we ate. We had a speaker that night. This fall, we're having Larry Logston. He's coming to speak. He's actually a teacher at Pius. I'm going to kind of talk about his faith and experiences, those sort of things. Then everybody can just kind of walk around, and we get the campfire going and just sit around the campfire. Mike plays guitar. Larry happens to sing. So last time they just kind of sat and sang, and guys just talked. Just kind of decompress and do nothing. Like literally just do nothing. Not on your phone doing nothing. Just sitting there and listening to nothing. So then we got Deacon Matt Hecker. He's going to come talk this time. And Michael Donlin, who actually teaches OCI classes. So just kind of, I think we're trying to keep it open. Yes, we're all Catholic guys. It's kind of a Catholic umbrella over the whole thing. But it's not like if you're not Catholic, you can't come. We could really care less what religion you are, as long as you just kind of go in the same path we are of being a man, being a father, being a good brother, those sort of things. And if you want to talk about becoming Catholic, we'll talk to you about it. Half of us are probably converts anyway. So that's kind of how the weekend goes, and we get up early, have breakfast, have a couple speakers, go to the shooting range, go to the forge. I think it sounds like we're getting mass this Saturday.
I think we got that finalized. So we'll have mass with Father Redinger Saturday.
Yeah.
Great.
Confessions maybe too, hopefully. But and then you can register by going to the website forgedinfaithx.com, and there's still spots available. And if it fills up or you're not able to make it this time, we are already planning our next event in June. I think that's I won't say a date yet because I don't know if we finalized it, but anyway, so if and you can always reach out to us, go to the website, there's an email address there. If there's anything that you feel like God is asking you to talk to us about, help us with, be a part of it, that's, we're really welcoming anything that people have for ideas at this point too, so it's pretty.
Or if they want to donate.
Yeah.
Take some donations. That's kind of the thing too, is we're not charging guys to come. It's just, because we don't want that to be holding somebody back. So just show up, and if you feel like making a donation at the end, then do so. Or if somebody can't come, they're like, hey, that sounds great. I want to donate a package of hot dogs or something. We'll take pretty much whatever you got. So
Wonderful. Well, if you want to learn more about the retreat or the experience, go to forgedinfaithx.com. You can figure out more information. You can maybe find where to register. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to these three guys. Mike Czyz, Josh Fink, and Andrew Munger, thank you guys so much for being with me today.
Thank you, Corbin.
And thank you guys for what you are doing. This is something that I think is so needed in today's world. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.